The bluegrass banjo is predominantly why we're all here today. Am I right? Yeah. And most of us are on a fairly new road with it. Am I right? Within 3 years of buying one anyway. How many people have only just started?
Like 5 minutes ago.
Okay.
It's not even my banjo, I don't even have a banjo.
Well, you probably won't need it, sweetheart, to be honest. Just have a nice listen and enjoy it. I'm not saying that you won't, but you might not. And the rest of us within a 3 year, how many people have been playing longer than 3 years? So you see, quite a lot.
When you say playing,
you want to change it to advance. Okay, straight into some Bella Fleck then. Right, okay. So I'm going to cover the old ground again. I have to, really. Workshops don't change very much. The banjo is a great instrument, but it has a very difficult right hand if you're right-handed. Whatever you're picking-handed is the hard one. The fretting hand's not so bad on this instrument. Other way around maybe for mandolins and fiddle players who've got positional work to do. We're lucky, This is the hand that projects it. It's a non-linear instrument, and by that I mean it doesn't go from low to high with its strings. It has its low string and its high string right next to each other. So it's non-linear, but it is harmonically tuned. Does everybody know what that means? No. Harmony means that we've got sets of tones, or strings if you want to call it that today, that play nicely together. They sound good. Pete's guitar, if he plays it without putting a chord down, doesn't. So his guitar is not harmonically tuned. So we've got a tune base of 3 or maybe 4 tones that are the same. In the case of the banjo, 3. And they make up this wonderful G chord, which is a harmony of 3 tones vibrating nicely. So because we've got that already, we can play something automatically without using this hand. Okie dokie. So the problem that you've now got is this hand automatically is the one that will slow you up as a beginner. Because once you've got the roll pattern off, it sounds good in normal G. But learning to fret and keep things clean is a problem. But before I get into all of that, I'd like to bring up a subject that I got asked this morning about. Like, how important is it to get the tone out of your banjo, whether it's a 50 quid banjo or a £5,000 banjo? How do you know how to get the best out of the banjo? What do we normally do when we get it home to make it our own? Any ideas? Set it up, yeah. And what do we do to do that? Tune it, or maybe tighten the head or loosen the head. Set the bridge, and the bridge may be too thick for us or too thin. Hey Tom, right. Also the tailpiece. When I was a lad growing up in banjo music, it was a done thing to have the tailpiece arse end sticking right up in the air, with the front piece coming right down behind the bridge to cause as much tension as we can. The modern idiom, that's just the reverse now. It's parallel, straight on, if you can get it. Because mellow tones have become more important, or as important, as this one, harsh tones. In fact, there's more stuff written for mellow tone banjo now than anything, thanks to Bella, Jens Kruger and all that. So we can do that. So we tighten the head, look at the bridge, and muck about with the tailpiece. String gauge. Does anybody think about string gauge, what they put on? Or did they just buy what they can get from the music shop?
Lighter the better for your fingers.
Lighter the better, good, okay.
Oh, so it's only a medium.
Mediums. So you see, already we've got our own preferences coming in. Okie dokie. Yeah. I use a 16 on the 3rd string, which a lot of people find very, very difficult to do.
Oh, there is room.
Sorry, you went for a small one. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
Yeah, well, it's the message, okay? Okay, right. Sorry, mate.
Sorry, mate. So, with the string gauges, it becomes an individual preference. There is one other thing that somebody spoke to me about this morning to improve or not, your tone. And guess what it is? That. The thumb pick. You know, you don't realise just how important the thumb pick is to this instrument. You know, I use a fairly long shaft on mine, and it's fairly wide. But you can actually get thin ones, shorter ones, white ones, red ones, metal ones, whatever. But for me, it's important to get a medium that I like. If you go to the shop and you buy the normal Dunlop one, which we all do because mostly you can get, it's pretty good, but it's not great. I've got 2 or 3 here to make a difference, but if you want to hear it. I use a Zuki thumb pick. It's fairly long. Can you see the shaft on it? It's fairly long. So you get your thumb well away from the string, and it gives the thumb more power. Because if you're digging your thumb in deep to the string, pulling it back out and going for the next string makes that quite awkward when you're at speed. So if you can get your thumb to lie level, so there's no work in the thumb at all, rather than digging it in, looking for it, digging it in. So try and stay away from the shorter ones. And the thinner the pick, the brighter the banjo will sound. Did you know that? Yeah. Same as guitar plectrums, really. If you use a nice hard long guitar plectrum, but it's thick, then it's going to be a mediocre sound that you'll get. If it's a thin pick that you can flex with, it'll be a thinner sound. So all of these things bear in mind. So you've now got your banjo and we're ready to roll, okay? I don't really want to go over... Who wants me to go back over the old stuff we did before? Is everybody quite happy for me to do that? You know, by that I mean how to do the roll pattern nicely and how to hold this hand. Are people interested in that?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, okay. Well, we'll cover a little bit of that then. When I say this hand is most important, I do mean that. Getting this hand to sit right is always a problem for some people. Some people just put the pinky down. Some people put both fingers down. Mostly put both fingers down if they can. It's good to do that. The more anchorage you can get with your hand so that it doesn't drift, the better it is. And the pinky's quite weak and it can cause that. So I go for both hands. I form my hand as if I'm holding a cricket ball. Can you see that? And when I put my hand down and let that relax, the fingers more or less jump into the right place straight away. No spidering, just relaxed. Off the armrest at about 45 degrees and giving it the old, you know what? We'll bring that back down there. Okay, so let's get that up. Everybody pull your banjos up and then let's look at the right hand position, shall we? So get yourself comfortable so that I can see, and you, Mr. Conway. And what we're going to do is, we're going to even out the roll to start with. By that I mean, when we play, we're going to do the alternating roll pattern. Everybody familiar with that roll pattern? Yes? Yes. You, Phil? Yeah. Look at those 4 beats. Watch, listen to me play the 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, the 1 beat, sorry. Can you hear that? Now let me tell you a story. The thumb is playing the beat. I'll stop the other 3. So the thumb is actually playing the beat, and the other fingers are playing the space. So we've got these 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and the ding dongs are in the spaces. Okay, they must be equally in length to the beat, not this. Sorry. That's wrong. Let's get the beat right. So let's start by going there. Everybody join me. And now what we'll do is we'll just project the thumb a little bit, only the thumb. Very good. And we're nice and relaxed, yeah? Now what we're going to do, add a 3rd string slide like this. Good. Now keep it nice. Bring the thumb up a bit more. Good. Without increasing the speed. Okay, now let's go here. A bit faster. Keep the thumb out. Good. Nice and even. And stop. And that's how the roll must be throughout your whole career, really. If it's 120 beats a minute or whether it's 60 beats a minute, just keep those spaces even with the beat. Everybody okay with that? And that's called an alternating thumb pattern. Anybody tell me why it's called that? Because the thumb plays every other note. Okie dokie. So it's called the alternating thumb. The thumb will play the third string, and then the index finger will take the second, and then the thumb will take the fifth, and then the middle will take the first. So there's a thumb every second go like there, 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 there. So we call it the alternating thumb. The Yanks call it the square roll. Now let's have a look at the other one that's important to us, which is the forward-backward roll. Everybody, or some people, or most of us understand that roll, yeah? Okay, this time it's going to start off exactly the same way as the alternating thumb by playing 3-2. But at that point, the other two strings change over. So instead of playing 5-1, we're going to play 1-5. So we're going to go 3-2-1-5, making it a forward roll. So called because we're rolling from the lowest note to the highest. And of course, its brother in arms would be the backward roll. Yeah? Well, they're two roll patterns in their own right, but they're not really used a lot, believe it or not. The one we used is the forward-backward roll, which is a combination of both those rolls. But if you watch carefully what I'm doing, when I play the forward roll, it finishes on the fifth string. And of course my backward roll starts on the fifth string. So logic would tell us all then, if we played a forward-backward roll, we would go. But in fact we miss one of the fifth strings out. Okie dokie. Giving us a count of 7, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is quite odd. So just try a forward roll and then immediately come back to your first string for the backward run. There. Try that. Yes, good. Okay. Anybody tell me if there's a problem with that, if we wanted to play more than one of them?
No, you need 8 beats, don't you?
You do need 8 beats. Anybody else understand there's a problem with it? Okay, let's try playing more than one of them and see what happens. On you go. It doesn't work, does it? And then, you know why it doesn't work? Because you're finishing on a thumb and you need to restart on a thumb. Because you're going and finishing there. Yeah? And the next one starts there. Which would, as this gentleman says, give us the wrong amount of beats. But we never play two fingers together if we can help it. And we would end up with this. And we don't want that. When we play the forward-backward roll in bluegrass music, we add a first string, open first string, between each one, like this. And you get this. Or slow. Okay, everybody got that? So let's try that then. 1, 2, 3, and. Everybody happy? Jolly good. So gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, these are the two basic master rolls for traditional bluegrass music. And in fact, into Bella style playing as well, and Kruger style is a little bit different. And so when you sit at home practicing, my advice to you is, even like this young lady who's just starting out to where I am, 41, 50 years into it, just take 5 to 10 minutes with those rolls when you start your practice session, because you'll have a far better practice session than diving straight into Boulder Dash, right? So that's my advice to you. So now what we need to do is we need to do something with these roll patterns, don't we? Or else we've got a right bunch of dicks sitting there in a session downstairs just doing that. Okie dokie. So we need to try and do something with it. And what I want you to do when you're at home practicing, boring though it may seem, I want you to play back to the alternating thumb pattern now. This one, I want you to do more 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Simple as that. And then I want you to dive without stopping straight onto the C chord and do a further 4. 2, and then back to G. And then to the D7 for the same. Okay, starting with me now, 4 Gs. 1, 2, straight to C. 1, 2, back to G, down to D7, and back to G. Thank you very much. Okay, so let's try it here, shall we? Wait till I finish and come in. Now, C, G, D7, and again, yep, and that'll do. So very important that we have a look at those. Very simple exercise. But it jumps you straight into, I don't know, let's have a look at like the Cabin in the Pines. I'll just do it without anything else other than what we've done. But obviously, I have to go where the chords go. So it might not be 4 beats of each, but the principle will be the same. Ready, Peter? There's a cabin in the pines, in the hills of Caroline, and a blue-eyed girl is waiting there for me. I'll be going back someday, and from her I'll never pray, from the cabin in the hills of Caroline. Oh, the cabin in the shadow of the night, and a blue-eyed girl way down in Caroline. Someday she'll be my wife, yeah, we'll hit a happy life, in the cabin in the hills of Caroline. Right, here we go, get your banjos up. Get in. 1, 2, 3. There's a cabin in the pines in the hills of Caroline, and a blue-eyed girl is waiting there for me. I'll be going back someday, and from her I'll never stray, in the cabin in the hills of Caroline. C chord. Oh, the cabin in the shadow of the night, and a blue-eyed D7 coming up now. Goodbye. Someday she'll be my wife, yeah, we'll live a happy life, in the cabin in the hills of Caroline. That's all. See that now? See, that just sounds lovely, doesn't it? No matter how many banjos there are in the room, and God knows we love them more the merrier, don't we? Despite the comments downstairs, just ignore them.
Jealousy.
It is, that's all it is, man, it's all it is. But we managed to redeem ourselves up here, hidden away in the forecastle of this wonderful festival, and we've just played a verse and a chorus of that together. They don't think we can do that. But we can do it. Let's add a little bit more to it now, dead easy, it's really easy, all of this. So, everybody's gone, is in the circle, and Brian's pointed out, you have a go now. And if it's in a circle, it's worse, because if he's played, you're next. And what do? You're looking at the guys running the session going,
That's me.
yes!
It's all dancing under a visible chair.
And then just ignore it and they go, Joe Bagoberry, and he's like, but there's a little thing we can do to redeem ourselves. We can nick licks out of our tune. Tunes are predominantly there to enjoy, but they don't make you a banjo player, an instrument player, an instrumentalist. They just mean that you can play tunes on it. The instrument itself is meant, in my opinion, to accompany vocals and be in an ensemble of some sort, and I love that, I just love it to bits. You can keep the Flash, Foggy Mountain breakdown players, they're great, but that's all they can do. We want to become musicians. So let's look at Cripple Creek. We all just played at late